The musical, the New York Times called the biggest Broadway blockbuster of all time, is now on an extended run in Manila. Wicked will cast its spell on the Filipino audience until March 9th. Now, here's the treat. Hilary Isaac caught up with the main cast members of the delightful musical. Let's listen in.
Wicked, the Broadway musical, the untold story of the two witches of Oz. Now, as the subtitle suggests, this is the untold story of two girls, their unlikely friendship, and how they later on become the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda the Good. Now, this is an amazing retelling of all the things that happened before Dorothy even came into Oz. One of the best takeaways from this production is the story of how not everything is as it seems. And also there's just so much more than what the eye can see. All around, just a heartwarming story for the whole family. This staging is also going to be starring some amazing theater actors, both TV and movie actors actually, from Australia and New Zealand. Susie Mathers playing Glinda the Good. We have Gemma Ricks playing Elphaba, or the Wicked Witch of the West. Stephen Danielson playing Fiyero, and Jay Lagaya playing the Wizard of Oz. What was it like for you guys coming to the Philippines, knowing you're going to put up this whole production? Did you have hesitations about the kind of reception you would get, perhaps?
I've been to some Asian countries before, but we all knew that Filipinos love performing and love singing, and so we were a little bit skeptical on what kind of response we would get. But we feel like that everybody out in the audience was almost a performer themselves, and was so generous and was along with the journey with us.
Sometimes Manila gets a bad rap because people say, "Oh, you're going to Manila. That's a 20 million." Well, 20 million here, so 20 million this and 20 million, and when you actually get in here, it's, I always say that, a country is always, the people are the ones that make up the country, and the people here have been so generous. I've worked with Filipinos before on other major productions, and they've always been the life, and they've always been fantastic performers.
What drew you to the roles that you guys play?
I think I was lucky enough to see Wicked on Broadway a few years back, and I literally fell in love with the role straight away. And I'm a little... It
wasn't the skin-tight pants you fell in love with?
Yeah, it was the jumpers. Yeah.
They come with lubricants, these things.
Yes.
He's blushing.
I've never sat in them this long, actually. It's quite nice.
The funny thing is he doesn't even ride a horse.
No, that's true. No, look, I can really relate to Fiyero. He comes across as really that party boy and wanting to have a bit of fun, and everything lies on the surface, and that he, comes from this privileged background. But obviously through the show, you can see there's a lot more layers to Fiyero, and that's what I love about this role so much, is that I can really relate to that, and all through my childhood and schooling and into where I am now. Yeah, it's just I am so humbled by playing this role, because it's it meant so much to me when I saw it sort of 3 or 4 years ago when I was in New York, and now following this journey and finally being part of it. Yeah, it's so great.
The trouble with schools is they always try to teach the wrong lesson. Believe me, I've been kicked out of enough of them to know.
It's a great show because it's a show that not only shows you that two lead females can actually run a successful show, but also that the storytelling is that everyone changes. There are nuances that what you start at the beginning with is what you don't end up with the end. For me, it's about the responsibility that the media has, about the fact that if I go out and say she's a wicked witch, all of a sudden they go, "Oh, she's a wicked witch. Why? Because I saw it on television. Is that real? Oh, no, because, So, for me, it's that responsibility as well, and I think it teaches us a lot. But most importantly, the music is really relevant to our young people, to have discussions with kids who come out and go, "You guys sing that song from Glee." And I go, actually, Defying Gravity is actually from this show. It went the other way. The great thing is that there are not too many shows that actually permeate into social media, our social aspects itself. Songs like Defying Gravity or Popular, kids love that. They come in droves to see the show, and I think that's the strengths that we have.
Off the top of your head, when you heard you were coming to the Philippines to do this, what was going through your mind?
Oh, exciting. You know, you get to travel and work and get to live in these awesome places. So yeah, absolutely excited to be here.
And for us, you know, we're both vocalists and you guys love your singing.
Yeah.
Our dressers sing backstage and the people that tidy up that do our the hotel staff, they sing while they're outside. Like, yeah, we think it's incredible.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's pretty
They're
awesome.
amazing. So yeah, we love it here.
Dream role, and then now you're playing these roles. Like, what? I mean, this stands in a lesson of inspiration and faith for other, I guess, young girls who want to reach some dreams. But what was the process like for you from when you first realized you wanted to do this to today? You're doing this today.
Look, for me, it was kind of an odd path. I didn't decide to do this until I was in my late teens. I actually was studying law commerce at uni first. Yeah, it's a big change. Yeah, but you know, I fell in love with. I've always been a singer. Yeah. But yeah. But singing lawyer. So yeah, look, I've always been a singer, but the dream of making a career out of music theatre, it was just this dream. And so I worked hard. I went to drama school. I started out in the ensemble of Wicked first in 2008 and have kind of just worked myself up to this point. So yeah, it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah, and I was the same. Like I've always been a singer, but never thought I would do it as a career. And so I did a beauty therapy apprenticeship. So I did that for 4 years. And while I was doing that, I was doing amateur theatre productions and singing in a band and all that kind of stuff. But didn't really feed the soul working full time and then having to do part-time singing. So I just started to audition for things, and then I just sort of had a lot of yeses from it. So yeah, now I'm professionally working and in this magical show. So can't complain.
There are wonders like I've never seen. It's all grand, it's all green. I think we found the place where we belong. I wanna be in this I belong. So I'll be back for good someday to make my life and make my way. But for today, we'll wander and enjoy.
What sets your experience here in the Philippines unique and different from all the other places you've been, that you've acted on or worked at?
It was absolutely incredible. Manila is actually my last season with the show. I'm leaving the show after this. So this season is very, very special for me. And I'm really looking forward to, you know, having a wonderful time here. Last night was incredible.
I want to remember this moment always. Nobody's staring. Nobody's pointing. For the first time, I'm somewhere where I belong. You look positively emerald.
To have that energy and feel was just, it literally just
blew
us away.
Yeah.
I did Defying Gravity at the end of it. The curtain comes down and like it's like a wave. It just hits you and everyone was just going bananas and I had the biggest smile on my face. So yeah, so I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
We're just two friends, two good friends, two best friends.
Sharing one wonderful one shore. The wizard will see you now!
Wow. But I just have to say, you know, I was there that same night that Hilary was there. I bumped into her, and that was the Gala night, which was pretty much, it was like a premiere.
Yes.
And the enthusiasm of the Filipino audience to me was just amazing. So I totally understand what the actors were saying, because while they were singing, I've never heard, I've been watching a lot of plays in my life before in New York, and I've never seen such an audience so excited. Like
So
really like, wow, the clapping and the screaming. So, you know, the actors must have been really excited.
Yeah, especially since they were talking about they had a certain hesitation in the beginning, so I'm pretty glad that they actually still came here despite anything that they've heard, and it was absolutely incredible.
As she said. So, and the Gala night was fun. I saw Lea Salonga, and I saw like all these people, and they were, some of them were really dressed up in costumes. The audience.
Well, for those who have not
That's
seen
how
it
excited
yet,
they were.
They're extending it to March 9th, I
Exactly.
guess. But
There's more. So our very own Pia Bonalos was one of the few media members who got to sit down with Wicked's award-winning composer and lyricist. Here's what that conversation went with the musical stage's wizard, Stephen Schwartz.
Good morning. I consider myself really lucky this morning because I get to sit down and interview a 3-time Academy Awardee, a 4-time Grammy Awardee, and a 4-time Drama Desk Awardee, composer and lyricist of Wicked, Mr. Stephen Schwartz. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you. Thanks.
Nice to see you. Thank you. First of all, did you expect this kind of warm reception of Wicked here in the Philippines, coming here?
Well, you never know. Wicked, I have to say, has generally been very well received all around the world, but some places have had more of a connection to it than others. One of the things that's a bit of a surprise here is I know the original movie, The Wizard of Oz, is somewhat known, but not really well known here. So I guess there are other aspects of the show itself, and maybe the relationship of the two women that seem to be really appealing to Filipino audiences.
Of course, it has been toured in different places all around the world. Are there things that for you as the lyricist and composer of this that are like non-negotiable? When you stage it at this scene or this particular part has to be exactly like this when you stage it on Broadway and other parts of the world?
Well, most of the productions that have been done around the world, including the one that's here in Manila, are replications of the Broadway production. It's the same set, it's the same costumes, it's the same lighting, it's the same staging. Basically, if people come to see the show in Manila, they're seeing the Broadway show, and they're also seeing a really good cast, I have to say. To be honest with you, some of our casts are stronger than others in different productions. This happens to be a very, very strong cast. So you're basically seeing the Broadway show.
And you're saying that in all honesty?
I am. I saw this company in Auckland, New Zealand, and was very taken with the cast, particularly the two leads. And in fact, emailed back to the producers in New York how strong a company I thought this was.
Okay, that's good news because a lot of people are still catching it until it runs this March. But of course, I want to know a little bit about your journey being this award-winning lyricist and composer. When was that point in your life that you realized that this is something you want to do, to write musical?
From the time when I was a little kid, really like 6 or 7 years old, I grew up in a suburb of New York City. And my parents, neither of whom were in the arts at all. My mother was a teacher, my dad was a businessman. But both of them were theater goers and still are. And so when I was a kid, they would take me to see some musicals in New York. And more or less immediately upon seeing the first one that I ever saw, I just fell in love with musical theater. And that's what I wanted to be part of if I could.
Okay, but musical theater, people would actually just go to write simple songs or go mainstream and write an album, but you stuck with musical theater. What is it about it that made you really fall in love with it and stay with it throughout all these years?
Well, I like the storytelling. I like that form as a way of telling stories about people and ideas. That's what appealed to me when I first saw it, and that I think is the thing that I do, rather than just write individual songs or kind of a review or whatever. Usually I'm attracted to stories, and how can you tell that story using songs, either for theater or now for movies as well.
And the thing that is very unlikely is that Wicked centers on two young women, and to have like a man write something like this, how was that experience for you?
Well, to be honest with you, one of the reasons that I asked Winnie Holtzman to be the book writer, to write the dialogue and to collaborate with me on the story was exactly that. I knew Winnie for many reasons, but partly as the creator of a television series called My So-Called Life, which was about a young woman, about the age that the characters are in Wicked. And I thought that was a wonderful series, and I thought she was one of the people who understood how to write for women better than many, and the fact that obviously she's a woman herself, that she has a daughter who's about the age of the characters in Wicked, that was very helpful.
And then the song process, that's all collaboration with her, or were there songs that are purely yours?
Well, I write the music and lyrics. She writes the dialogue, but everything is collaborative in that we talk it over. She'll show me what she's written. I'll play her what I've written. We'll go back and forth a little bit. So basically the whole show becomes a collaboration, even though we're more officially responsible for our own departments.
You did mention that, of course, Wicked is based on this novel, and that's where you got of this story. How do you usually stumble upon these stories that you want to make a musical out of?
It can happen in any number of ways. Somebody can call me with an idea. I can come across a news item. In the case of Wicked, I was actually on a vacation in Hawaii, and I was on a snorkeling trip with a friend of mine who's a folk singer named Holly Near. And she just happened to say randomly in conversation on the boat that she was reading this book that she was enjoying called Wicked. And she said it's basically the Oz story from the Wicked Witch's point of view. And immediately I thought, that's just a great idea. And it feels so right for me. So it just can happen in a flash like that.
Going around here in the Philippines, you did mention you went to Tagaytay. Is there anything here that would interest you to write a story about?
I don't know yet. Let's see. I don't think I'll write a story about a volcano, but I certainly enjoyed it was really beautiful and a good hike. So got some exercise too.
Would you give any kinds of tips to aspiring composers out there? Because right now, the theater scene here locally is burgeoning, and I'm sure a lot of people would love to take a look at a peek into your mind and know how they could go about a writing process.
Well, I think, yes, I would give two tips, frankly. One is to learn a lot about musical theater, other musicals, and which ones they like and don't like, so they can sort of understand the structure. And secondly, to do exactly what you were suggesting in earlier questions, which is what interests you? What's a story that you would like to tell that suggests music to you? And think about how to tell that story within the structures of musical theater that appeal to you.
Okay, and you heard it right from the best.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schwartz.
Thank you. Those were great questions.
There you have it. For those of you who still haven't seen Wicked, it's running until March 9 at the Cultural Center of the Philippines.